Hi everyone, this is Elena of the Witches Box, and I'm here today with another episode of Witch BookTube. Today we're going to be talking about a book by Moon Books, but it's their Pagan Portals series, and the book is called Hekate, a Devotional by Vivienne Moss. So there's this, but before I get into it, today's lipstick is by Milani. It's Milani, and the color is called Fabulous, and drugstore, super cheapy. I think it was less than $10, so there's that. Mwah. It's dry, it's a liquid lip, and this one also tends to stay on pretty long, even through greasy foods. So there's the lipstick announcement for the day. Now on to this book. I think, as most of you know, because I think I discussed it both in the massive witchy book haul that I did last week or earlier this week, and on social media we've been talking about how the November Witches Box is calling Hekate. That is the theme for it. And at the time of this video, I would say maybe 75% of those boxes have already arrived at their destination. So we are going to be talking about several books that I have on hand and in my to be read pile, my to be read cart on Hekate, along with other books. The reason why I wanted to do a box on a deity and working with a deity was because there are witches who work with deities, there are witches who do not. Neither one of those is more valid a path than the other. But specifically when you work with a deity, there are doorways that you can go through when aspecting a deity, when creating an intimate and deeply relational connection with a deity that is very different than witchcraft that does not work with deities. I wanted to give the people who are subscribed to the box and all of you who are interested a taste into what that could be like and what that can open up for you. And Hekate right now seems to be the most accessible deity that we can work with, at least in terms of the demographic of the Witches Box specifically. And she is, after all, the goddess of the witches, and so I feel like this is a great place to start. She is a great combination of many aspects, many characteristics. People access her through different epithets or different names because each of those names represents a different part of her. There are many inroads to her in a really beautiful and profound way. She is both light and dark. She can be incredibly fierce. Those different aspects can touch and challenge a lot of parts of us that I think spiritually are really ripe fields for growth and transformation. So that is just like a sliver of the reasons why I chose her, and also because late 2020 we will have opportunities for really deep, enriching dives into deity work that will be separate from the box. So you can be subscribed to the box and no longer do any work with deities ever again. But if you wanted to go deeper into this type of work, there will be another offering that will allow for that. So all of these things are kind of a build up towards that, as well as you'll remember if you've been watching these for a while that sometime in the middle of summer, June, July-ish, I did a review on another book that started all the hinting, which is Keeping Her Keys by Cindy Brannon. This is an excellent book. I still highly recommend this book. I'll try to link to this video somewhere here on the screen at the end of the video or somewhere down below, but check out the review for that. And if you don't have this book, check out this book. This is great. She has done a phenomenal job of really conveying what a modern Hecatean tradition would look like in a really thorough way. It's really beautiful. So all of those resources. And I started with this particular book because it is a very quick read. It is a very simple peek into what someone's personal devotional relationship with Hekate looks like. This book is not intended by me. I don't know what her intentions were, but it's not intended by me as a book to recommend to you to learn all that you can about Hekate. No, that is not this book. This book solely I recommend reading if you want. Just if you want to get a little snapshot into what someone's personal relationship with a deity might look like. To that end, it is a very simple book. She does not go into the kind of depth that I really believe that she could have. But before I go any further with all that, let me quickly read to you her bio. Vivienne Moss is a solitary witch, mystic, and priestess of Hekate who resides in a small Indiana town. She spends her days brewing up trouble with her boyfriend and 2 daughters, and her nights dreaming of the enchanted life. When she's not writing, you'll find her taking long walks in the forest or strolling through the local cemetery. A lover of all things occult, Vivienne dedicates her time to study the esoteric knowledge. You can find Vivienne's essays and poetry in Naming the Goddess by Trevor Greenfield and by Blood, Bone, and Blade, a tribute to the Morrigan by Nicole Bonvisuto. This book is put out by Moon Books, and Moon Books has got a series called Pagan Portals. I have not read any of the other Pagan Portal books. However, they all seem to be very small, very light snippets of whatever the topic is that each book is covering. I think off the top of my head, I think I've seen about 10. There are probably quite a few more. So again, not in depth. I would divide this book into 2 sections. One, the very first section, which is the different ways in which she has experienced Hekate, also giving examples of each, not each, because she doesn't cover all of them, but different epithets or names or aspects of Hekate and how each of those aspects serve different ways of relating to her directly, which I think is probably the example that I find most important in this book that I would want to share with you. But on the whole, the book is way too simple, way too superficial. I really wish you could have gone deeper. I give this book maybe a 2.5 stars on Goodreads, even though 2.5 is not an option. And so I kind of knew that this is what the book was going to be when I picked it up. And I wanted to still share it with you simply because sometimes we just need an example. If we've never had a relationship with a deity, an intimate relationship with a deity that we have cultivated, sometimes it's nice to have an example. Like what would that look like? How would that serve me? How would I serve them? What I want to know. So this book I recommend solely as a way to get an idea of one person's very personal perspective of their personal relationship with the deity, period. This book relies completely and solely on her own personal gnosis or her own personal direct experience. There has been criticism about this book because to some people it feels like it's inaccurate. There are a lot of inaccuracies, but I really try to tread lightly around that. No one is anyone to say that your direct experience is inaccurate. It's your direct experience, period. That's it. But her direct experience of Hekate has associations with different realms in a way that does not sound familiar to what most people out there have experienced of this deity, right? So keep that in mind. It could be right, it could be wrong. No one is really here to say. It's just her personal relationship. And that's really what I wanted to get out of the book, to read and then share with you. The second part of the book, she has, and it's a very short section, but she has quite a few correspondences that are helpful. Those are also out there in the world of blogs and other books, but it can serve. She also has what feels to me like a really good modern bibliography of books that you can read and dive deeper into Hekate and her history, which I think is important and is not covered in this book. So maybe an hour and a half, not even that. It was like an hour and 10, an hour and 15-minute read. I don't particularly feel like I read very quickly, but it's not even 100 pages. It's a very, very short book, and it's just a peek into what someone's personal journey with Hekate is. The other thing that I really liked, though, that serves as a good example is that she has a lot of poetry, a lot of supplications or prayers or invocations to Hekate, which I just feel can give another example as to what that kind of dialogue and communication would be like. It's important. It's good to know, particularly when we are all, for the most part, if you're not already part of a very specific tradition, if you're solitary, you're kind of on your own. It's always nice to see an example. That's it. I hope to find other examples. This one left me wanting, particularly since she was a priestess of, or she is a priestess of Hekate. I would have loved, me personally, what that looks like to be a priestess of Hekate and priestess in the world from this lens. Would have been beautiful. But that's not what the book is. That's not what the book offered. I'm hoping to find something more along those lines in the other books that I have in my stack, but they're going to probably be much more in depth about who Hekate is and how to work with her specifically as an educational tool, which I'm also deeply looking forward to, and I will share with you all as well. So yeah, that's it. That's the review. Hekate, a Devotional, Vivienne Moss. A great little example of what someone's personal relationship with Hekate is. Left me wanting a lot. There's just a lot more that could have happened here, I think, that sadly didn't happen. But I will link to it below. I'll link to all the other things below. And if you've worked with Hekate, if you're working with Hekate now, if you are part of those two groups, please share your experiences and your resources down below. I would love to learn about more books. And those of you who are subscribed to the box and who got the Hekate box as a single sale item, although at the time of this video going live, they're not on sale yet. They'll probably go on sale by Friday. We have very little of those boxes left. So first come, first serve. Once they're gone, they're gone. That's just kind of how it rolls here. But if you are one of those people who gets the box, got the box, will be getting the box, share your comments in the forum, because there is a really gorgeous and robust conversation already going on the forum about working with Hekate and reactions to the box and how to introduce yourself to her, which is just really thrilling to me that the community is growing and building, and communicating with one another is like a dream come true for me. So those of you who have the box, go over there and talk. You can certainly share your comments here, but I love just kind of fueling the communication and conversation on the forum. So there's that. I will see you in another few days with another video, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Blessings.